So today I'm going to be walking you through how to work with SSH or Secure Socket Shell using a virtual machine or VirtualBox. To be able to do this, you're going to need to have a Mac computer, and you're also going to need to have VirtualBox installed. You also are going to need a recent version of Linux that you can put just an ISO file as well. This is going to be used in your virtual machine later on. So first things first, as I said, you're going to have to make sure that you already have Linux installed. I already installed it, but just install the most recent version of Linux, and you can go to, I'll put a link in the bio of this video, and you can go there and be able to install Linux to your machine. So first things first, we're going to go right up here to New, and we're going to enter in the name of our virtual machine. I'm going to enter in SSH server, because that's all I'm going to use it for. Then you can choose which folder you want it in, and then after that, make sure that you choose Linux, and then make sure you choose Ubuntu. For this in particular, choose Ubuntu, but you can choose whichever one you want. A lot of people also use Debian for servers, so that's really up to you. I'm going to start right here with 4096 megabits-ish, somewhere right there. And that's our memory size, and this is how much actual RAM power I'm going to be giving to my VirtualBox when it's running. And then we're also going to choose to create virtual hard disk now. So let's create, and then you can choose, make sure that you choose VDI, and then you can leave it at 10 gigabytes if you want, but it's up to you, depending on what you want to do. So create. So there we go, and now our server is right here, ready to go. So before we do anything with the server, we're actually going to go right here to settings. And we are going to change a couple things, and we're going to first go over to our network right here, and then we're going to change this port forwarding right here. So make sure you bring up this advanced port forwarding, and then add, and then right here, this is, so you want to do this exactly how I'm doing it now. So you're going to change the name, well you can name it whatever you want, but I'm going to put it SSH because this is going to be used for SSH, protocol, TCP, and then host IP, we're just going to use the standard local host, which is 127.0.0.1, and then host port, we're going to use the standard TCP UDP port, which is just going to be 5679, and then use the guest IP to be 10.0.2.15, and this is actually just VirtualBox's internal IP, so that's why we're using that. And then lastly, we're going to enter to 1E2, which is going to be SSH default port, and then you're just going to click OK. So now that that's good, you're going to want to go back into network and now go to your adapter 2, and you're going to want to make sure you enable the network adapter, and then you're going to want to put host only adapter, and make sure that this VBoxnet is set up, or is set for this, and then you can get rid of advanced because you don't need to be advanced here, and then after that, so you can click OK. Go back to settings. You're going to want to go to system, and then in system, and if you want to change any of this later, you can change your processor, anything like that as well, just depending. I usually get rid of floppy. I don't have a floppy disk or anything like that, so I usually get rid of that, but you can choose to keep it if you want. The only thing that's really important for what we're doing right now for systems is that you make sure that this right here, enable I over O APIC, is checked. So now that we have that, we are all good to go there. So the last thing that we're going to do right here is we're going to add in our, I believe it's right here. So you're going to go over to storage, and then you're going to go right here to this little disk, and I choose secondary master, And then we're going to actually go to that Ubuntu that we created earlier, or that you downloaded earlier. So click that. So that's going to be used as we go on. Next, we're going to start our virtual machine. And then we can actually make this bigger by going over to display, then go up to here. You can make it bigger than that. I usually do it by like 200% because I'm blind. Put that right there. Now that we've moved this, we don't need this right now, so you can just kind of minimize it. And then I'm going to use some magic here and speed through this. Alright, so now once you get to this screen, you're going to want to install Ubuntu. Make sure that you change the language based on what language you speak. I only know English, so I'm going to choose English. And then we're going to install Ubuntu. Alright, so English, all good to go. Continue. And then you can either choose a normal or minimal installation. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to use minimal installation, but if you plan on keeping this specific server for later on, if you want to use it and you just want to have Ubuntu able to be used, you can obviously keep it and then just run normal installation, but I'm just going to run minimal. And then you can leave this checked as well, the download updates while installing Ubuntu, just to make sure that you're updated as well. So continue. Alright, and so this is going to look a little bit sketchy. I know erase disk and install Ubuntu, but this is only going to be on your actual virtual machine, so don't freak out. It's not going to delete your hard drive or anything like that. It's only for deleting what was ever on this virtual machine, which was nothing, so don't worry about that. So we're just going to click install now again. And then just continue. So it's looking at your disk right here, which is empty. And then you can choose your location. I'm going to choose New York. And then enter your name. So I'm going to put Michaela. And then enter in a password. And then click continue, and then you will wait for the rest of the install. So this could take a few minutes, so once again I'm going to use some YouTube magic, and I will see you soon. Okay, so now if your installation had completed correctly, you should see this, that will say restart now, so just click that. Then just wait for your server to restart. Okay, so now your name should show up and you should be able to log in. Enter your password. And we're in. So you can just skip through all these things because they don't really matter unless they do matter to you, in which don't skip through them. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to skip through. Alright. So then you're just going to open up your applications, and then you can type in terminal, but I actually see terminal right here. Alright, so now our terminal is open. So we're going to need a couple pieces of information. First things first, we're going to get the IP from our virtual machine, and we're going to be using that for our next step. So what you need to type in to the terminal, and actually before we even do that, we need to make sure that we install Open SSH server. So you're going to type in this, and this will install Open SSH server. And you can just ignore this. Alright, and then enter your password to install. Yes. Alright, and then once that finishes, you might want to just check to make sure that SSH is running properly. So you're going to just write sudo and then service SSH status. And looks like we're active and running, so we are all good to go. And then just do Command Z to exit out of that. So what we're going to do next is the step I said before. We're going to use this command to be able to get our IP on our virtual machine. Which is just IP address show. And then you're going to look right here at this EMP0S8. And then what you're going to want to do is just write that down. Perfect. So for now, we don't need to use our machine anymore, so you can just power it off. And then we're going to move over to our terminal, and you can do this from any file, it doesn't matter. All we're going to run is an if config, and this is just going to get our information that we need for the next step. So we have the VBox net. You're going to look at this right here, the iNet, and this is the information that's probably going to be in the next step already, and this is the information that we're going to change. So now you're going to want to bring back up VirtualBox, and you're going to want to go up here to File, Host Network Manager, and then select VBox Net 0. And so as you can see, our current iNet here, our IP right here, is the one that was in our host machine. But we want the one that's going to be in our virtual machine guest. So we're just going to change this to the one that I gathered, which was pretty much the same. It's just instead of 101, it's 103. So change that, and then click Apply, and then you can close it. Awesome. So now with that, our machine should work. So let's just go ahead and power back on our machine. All right, so I'm gonna log back in. Alrighty. So then in our terminal, our host machine, which is Mac, now you can run the SSH command. So in other situations in which you would run SSH, you could also set up a domain name instead as opposed to an IP address if you want to make it simpler for yourself. In this situation, we're just going to use the IP that we set locally to be able to run the SSH command. So you can do SSH, then your name that you sent, or the user that you sent, so it's user, and then at 127.0.0.1. And then you're going to pick the port as well, which was that 5679, which was our TCP UDP port that we opened up earlier. Then just click enter. And if you get this, so this is good that we actually got this because I can walk you through this part as well. So I'm just going to navigate over there, .sh, push ls, see what's inside, known hosts. Let's just nano inside, and then you're going to see the entry, and we're going to cut the text, and then you can push write out, and then enter, and then wrote 6 lines. So excellent. Then just exit out, and then let's run it again. So I'm going to just do a clear. I'm just going to go back to our root folder, and I'm going to run it again. And then if you get this, make sure that so it's only asking if you want to connect to the server, and if you accept the server's fingerprint, click yes, or type in yes, and then enter in your password. And now you are successfully inside of the server that we just created. So if you like this tutorial, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.